Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I have another instrument cluster, this time working in a 2008 Land Rover LR3. This is a diesel coming from England. The person that sent it was Ted Howlett. He's from Connecticut. I guess he's helping a friend or somebody, and I have it here on the bench now. All right, so let me move it over to the next capture. So we have it connected. That is the VIN number, which I tried to, look for it in Identifix and so on. And no, it's definitely not a US one. All right, so his concern is an E on the cluster, which we have here. It says temperature gauge elevated to high, which we have here. Flashers flashing on clusters, we do not have that here. And then the door cycling, locking, unlocking, which is very common when the cluster loses communication. And I don't have those locking and unlocking because obviously it's not connected to the car. But yeah, those are very common problems that this cluster presents when they lose communication. And I mean, this is in control of that. So I have now the Phoenix, the top-down Phoenix connected to the cluster. I have everything powered up and ready to go. As you can see, I'm trying to, make sure always before I perform a repair that I can see if all the gauges are working properly or if I see something that needs to be corrected before I touch it, especially when it's coming from so far away. I will definitely talk to Ted. Yeah, Ted. And make sure that he's okay with the repairs because I can definitely, see the problem. The E is no communication. So when you lose communication in this cluster, you're going to have that E. Also, the temperature sensor, which let me just show you in a diagram. Let me prepare that information. All right, guys, I got the information in the screen. 1 second. All right, so let me actually move the drop down out of the way, right? Perfect. So as I normally do, I just show, this one, I normally show the original, but this color one is actually really good for all these clusters. So I wanted you to see here. So let me get the box because when I'm in here, if I don't get this box, you will not get to see where I am. All right, so we have an engine coolant level sensor, but no temperature. We have the fuel level. Again, this is directly connected to the instrument cluster, but the rest of the signal is all into medium speed can or high speed can, depends on what the cluster needs. And that is going to come from any other module. I mean, any module in this system will be able to show the cluster temperature or so, but if it's an engine temperature, it most likely will come from the engine temperature. I mean, from the engine computer. Sorry, I had to stop where the doggy was barking too much. All right, so what I was saying, we have, again, switch like oil pressure. You can see oil pressure switch connected here. This is a switch. It's not the oil pressure. It's just going to be on and off, right? So no oil or oil. So, but if you're looking for coolant temperature or so on, it will come a speedometer, tachometer, temperature will come as a message on the bus. And that's what I want to show you in here because we have all the gauges. And this is, very nice from Bosch to have done this. But yeah, this is in a big way to show what is involved in this instrument cluster. All right, let's go back to here. Let me put the Phoenix back in here because I want to do, let's read the fault codes, which I already have. And we have, as you see, high speed CAN bus communication, medium speed bus communication, loss of communication, because, we are not connected to anything. Fuel sender 2, okay, they're not connected. And battery disconnection, electronic control unit reset, permanent. Well, let's clear the DTCs. Because yeah, that battery disconnection that we had there, it could be that two things. We have a problem on the harness, or we have a cluster, which is very common on these ones, that is cycling itself in the vehicle. Vibration, heat vibration is going to increase that. Sometimes they're so bad that I turn them on in here, and while I'm doing the test, they just go on and off by itself. But it looks like it's not the case on here. All right, so as you see, I only have those two faults in here, but the rest of Ted or his friend's concern is still here, right? So that's why I want to do the test. Let's go back to actuation. So I'm going to select the fuel gauge position first. Second, watching the camera, my outside camera while we're doing this at the same time. I want to make sure that you guys are seeing this. Yeah, good. I think a little glare, probably right there. Yeah, that's better, right? So the fuel will be the small center gauges, the one on the right side. And right now we got the low fuel level light on. So I'm going to go into 50%. That's usually what I do to make sure at least, well, I do that after repairs to make sure that the needles are set properly, but also here to make sure that it's really okay. And very important that, if I'm doing a job like this, I don't change the position of the needle just because I say so, because this needle is already adapted to the vehicle. So if I go and try to put him into a different position that is not, if he reads 50% and it's in there, I will put him exactly in there so it matches the sensors on the car, because otherwise it will be out of sync. So it's now going to be when it's full overreaching, and when it's empty it's not. So, and that's, I will always do this test. But we can see how the communication in between the cluster and the scanner is good. So that means at least the transceiver is working good. I'm going to exit that one. And we can see how it goes now blinking. I'm going to repeat 1 second that fuel gauge. I want to go into 100 or 95%. Sometimes 100 doesn't do it. Okay, so all right, yes, just want to make sure that the light, I don't know if it was the ABS light that caught my eye in a minute or in a second in there. But as you can see now, the needle is all the way up and the low fuel light is off. So when we exit, that will drop and that will blink, and now it's completely normal. All right, let's do the engine temperature. In this case, I want to do like 5% because we're already pegged up. And that is normal because the coolant temperature sensor signal is not there. So it's reading high temperature, and that's the way this one goes. So let's do it. Let's start. Engine temperature gauge. Okay, finally. And we can see now the needle all the way down and no more overheating light on. All right, we're going to now increase this to 50%. Let's see if I can change that. Perfect. And we can see the needle going into 50%. I'm going to go over to 75%. If I want to see that needle once again. Yeah, it is fine. And now we can exit, and now we can see the high temperature light blinking and the needle up to the top. All right, let's go into speedometer. In the speedometer, I'm going to go into 50%. We should put the speed as on the right side. That needle pretty much in the, in the top, reading at 12 o'clock. Yep, I went too much. All right. And that looks pretty good. I can see the response on the needles all working properly. I see also the stepper motors working properly. Let's do the tach. The tach is the one is a little weird. You're going to see that I was able to reach all of the rest of the needles on 50%. This one will go, I think, like a 51.5%. For some reason, it's a weird number on here. Not sure why. You see 51%, not 50, 51. All right, so let's do that one. And we can see the needle pretty much at 12 o'clock, which is what we're looking for. All right, so that is good. Let me see if I can do all lamps. I don't remember if I can do all lamps on this one. Let's do the left turn signal. Yeah, it is. As you see, all those are messages, right? So that we can control through the scanner. Yeah, I don't see nothing as far as communication being an issue, and I think that this is a normal gremlins. That's how I call this when it's happening like that. The normal gremlins on these instrument cluster. All right, so Ted, I'm going to stop the video here. Probably I will continue, and I will just contact the customer, see if he's okay with me proceeding with the repairs. And if he does so, then I will proceed to the repairs and just do a test after, where you will see pretty much exactly what you just saw here. But to make sure that the needles are set properly and everything. If you want to watch the repairs on this cluster, which I have shown multiple times, I will add a list. I will add this video on the list that I have a playlist. Just look for the playlist. I was trying to actually put the playlist on the links of the video, but I couldn't find a way to do that. So you're going to have to look into my channel and just look for the playlist. So for the Land Rover LR3s, and you can see I got multiple ones, and I've shown in multiple occasions what is involved in here. What I do, which is, I remove and replace all capacitors and diodes, resolder the entire board, because there is a lot of resistors that are loose, resolder the main microprocessor and memories, and retest. If I see something that is beyond that, then I contact the customer, because those are the normal repairs that I do included on what is for these clusters. If it's something like a broken LCD, a bad stepper motor, which these stepper motors I have so far replaced probably only 4. I do have them in stock, but they're really good. So I have, and I don't go in because they're expensive. They're like $70 each. And I don't want to spend the money, or not me, the customer, and increasing a repair that is already, expensive. But I want to keep those as much as I can, because, yeah, they're getting older and older. The harder you get to get those parts as well. All right, guys, thank you so much for visiting the channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. If this is at the end, see you next time. All right, guys, the repair is done. I talked to Ted, and he approved everything. I'm actually covering his name a little bit in here. Put this paper so you can see a little more of what I was in there, because I was noticing that it was covered on the first part. All right, so well, let me power this on. As you can see, I cleaned the entire cluster. It looks like brand new. Still has a little bit of a stain. Talking to Ted, he said this car has probably been sitting for 8 years or so, and they've been trying to restore it. But yeah, the cluster is looking like completely nice and clean. I cleaned all the face and all the inside. Everything was really, really dirty. But yeah, now it's all looking better. So let's see if we can reconnect to the scanner. Let me get there. It should. All right, perfect. Let's try the tachometer first. Well, let me select it. Yeah. All right, let's go over to the 51%. You can hear the changes on the scanner, but I don't see it on the top down. I mean, on the screen. Might have been frozen now. 89.2%. Really, really disappointed with TeamViewer. I'm not sure if it's TeamViewer or the internet or what is going on, because you're not going to be able to see that. But right now on the actual scanner, I got like 89%. So I'm doing the change now, and nothing is changing on the screen. Let me see if I can refresh that through the. Okay, finally went to like 51% by itself. So let's start the actuation. Yep, clicking 60. Sorry. All right, let me go. Secure access now. Achieve. All right, so let me reconnect. Yep, I thought it was going to work, but no, I have to completely get out of here and then see if now we can enter it. All right, actuation test, blah, blah, blah. Let's go down to the same place we were. Yeah, I'm already in 51. The scanner doesn't show that on the screen. Let me start. And we can see the needle going into the 51%. You can see the team viewer still shows 0%. And going to put the scanner in here so you can see. I'm going to exit the test, and you can see the needle. Well, finally, it looks like in the screen, it finally came back to there. So I'm going to select the speedometer. And let's do the same thing, 50%. And that I do always for accuracy, to make sure the needle is back to where it was. And let's just start. Yeah, you can see how the TeamViewer is not showing that. Could be the internet. I forgot to mention this cluster has 85,400 and what? 59 miles. Not too high of a mileage for a year, right? Let's exit this one. So those two are good. Let's do the temperature. I'm going to go over to 50% first. I didn't see a response. I can see the, and this is what is important, to check the needle. I'm going to exit it. Because that needle should be up and it's down. Am I going to have to open it up? Give me 1 second, guys. All right, guys, it looks like we have a problem. I have a problem with one of the needles. So I have the power on as far as battery. As you can see, the scanner is disconnected, which I don't need to really use it for this. So I'm going to set the needles into any position. Even I shouldn't because the battery is connected, but I want to show you that even if I do this, you see how like I'm actually going beyond the points on the fuel and the temperature. If I power this off and I power this on again, see what the rest of the needle did? Find is 0, except for the temperature. So something is definitely wrong with this separate motor. I'm going to have to replace it. I'm going to do it one more time. You see how it's jumping, something. So either gear is damaged inside the separate motor or something else. So I'm going to, again, pause the video, replace that separate motor, and come back. All right, guys? I'm going to show you the separate motor before I replace it. So you can see this is the way these separate motors look. They're very, very different. And they cannot be interchanged. They have each fuel gauge, coolant temperature. And then the only ones that can be interchanged are the speed and tachometer. But this order will not work on those two. All right, so that is how they look. Hopefully you can see it. It's going to, well, probably a little hard for that camera to focus into my hands. Yeah. So no, it's going to be the best capture. All right, guys. So let me, again, I have to completely tear it apart. And these are, easy things, at least the way it is right now. I have created my own harness with the original connector. As you can see, it's pretty easy to remove that. I got to remove the rear cover. And then this is just a face that can be removed. I have a special spot where I put everything. Yeah, I can see he was saying something about the LCD, but I said, those not it's not included on the normal repairs. Neither is separate motors, but I'm going a little beyond to help the customer. A separate motor here and there. Yeah, I take the loss, but an LCD, no way. I mean, just an LCD on these clusters are very expensive. So yeah, if you want something like that done because you don't like it's yellow or so, please let me know. But that is not included on the normal repairs. Neither separate motors. Again, this is something I'm just doing as my own discretion, but it's not the normal repairs. Is what I usually do, and you have seen multiple of these videos. All right, guys, let me just replace this, and hopefully that will take care of that. All right, guys, I got the cluster apart again. This I'm just going to use my solder socket. That's a Haco FR. What is it? Let me see, FR301. I've been using this for many years. Really, really good tool. I just always like to keep it nice and clean, which I actually need to do now. These are pretty easy to do. Just pull in here. That liberates this drum where all the solder that you have removed is now captured. And then just seal it back in. This has a filter on the back as well, which is good because then the pump doesn't get to suck, solder. All right. And we're replacing the one on the left side, which is now the one on the right side, right? Actually in the correct area. Let me get this here so you can hear me. Good advice if you're using a gun like this, don't wiggle it, but that can desolder the pads. This has, in the board, it has like little metal areas where the motor will be soldered. I'm going to actually to put a mark on the new one. So just in case, I know this is the new. In case I remove it and drop anything, because they will look exactly the same. All right, so and then you just carefully remove it. All right, and this is again the old one. Now I have the mark, and they're exactly the same one. Well, hard to say what is wrong inside, but this got gears, so that might be a broken gear. Just letting the solder socket get cold before I put it away. Also, I have a few questions from subscribers on how I, keep my irons clean and how they are always working good. This is a tip cleaner that you can get from MG Chemicals. You can look in Amazon. They have it too. All you do is, because the more you use the solder tip, it gets kind of like a burn, right? So you can see that the coloration. So even though I have tip cleaner from JVC, which is really good, the front of the tip, it has kind of like a thin area. There is solder, but it's more than just that. So that needs to be clean. Otherwise, it creates corrosion that, it will not solder properly. Let me get my microscope here so I can get to see what I'm doing. I got a few extractor. I'm not using it just to not make too much noise on the video. But I'm holding my breath when I'm soldering it if the smoke comes. Try to not breathe that. All right, guys, and that's it. That's how you replace one of those stepper motors, right? So we have, again, no more mark on this one. I'm going to keep it, I like to open those up and see if I can repair them because they're expensive. Sometimes it's a broken gear. And sometimes it's a motor that is bad, so I can make 2 out of 1, and I have a refurbished one. So, and I always keep them because again, those are the assisted stepper motor. I think it's around $70 my cost. And you know, when it's a small repair like this, if you start adding and adding up, and then you're going to red numbers, and it makes no sense, right? But I always try to, you know, help customers, and yes, I can always take a little bit of a loss here and there to please a customer and make it happen, but not all the time, right? Because yeah, otherwise we will be working for free. All right, so let me just again put this back together, and I'll be right back. All right, to set the needles in here, I usually just gentle with set the needles. If they come apart, they have the clips. You can put it back together and let the clip break. So be careful when you're doing that. I don't recommend you to do any of these repairs yourself. Again, I'm not setting the needles or push the needles all the way in yet, because I want to make sure that I can make it go to the 0 position that I want to have, which I put, you know, you will not be able to see there, but I have put my own little marks in the cluster with a special marker that can be removed. But I do push them a little bit, right? So they cannot be, you know, just too far out. So I think it needs to go a little more. All right, they're looking somewhere good. Let me turn this light out, because for the next part, it will be too bright. All right, first, as we did before, just gonna get the needles into any position and then power the cluster on. Right now, it's no battery on, no power, so the needles are moving a lot easier than before. All right, so let's power this up. So we might have another issue here. Because look at all the stepper motors are looking good except for this one. So it's not the stepper motor. All right, guys, this is getting interesting, right? And this is the problem when you're working with old stuff, right? Let me try one more time. But it's definitely looking like we have some motor issue here. Yeah, they all look to 0 except for that one. But if I put them in 0, but you see, it's like the needles can go, like especially right now with no stop, into a lot greater position. It's just not really a normal position. You see, when I turn the module on, it will do steps. So in this case, I will have to just turn it back on or off, completely remove the battery, right? And then plug it back on, and they should find the 0, which the other 3 are. This one is not. Let me see that. And I can see it trying to move. So something is going on in here. I'm going to have to, reopen this up and now look more closely at what could be the problem. So guys, I'm going to have to stop the video here. I'll be right back. All right, guys, I think I find it and repaired it. It's always good to have here and there an oddball to check your knowledge and, you know, enjoy it. You know, sometimes also get to many repetitive repairs, it gets boring. I love this when something comes and it's not the normal, and then you get to really check, and even you learn more about the board more, because again, these are very common boards that I get all the time in here, and I go like in automatic mode, you know, boom, 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 done, boom, 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 done. But I always do my checks like you did. I mean, I catch it immediately. All right, so well, you can see I got it together. So let me again put the needles in a different position. Right now, the battery is off. All right, so let's power this on. And we can see immediately all the needles now doing what they're supposed to be with ignition on, right? So let's say, this will be most likely when I send the cluster to him, the needles are going to be in different position from the shaking and in all the transit, right? From, shipping. But when he gets and it connects it into the car and it turns the ignition on, or not the ignition, connects the battery, all the needles will reset. All right, so let's connect the scanner, which I have not. Let me put this in here. Need to connect the scanner here. Make sure that turns on. You can see in there that that is not even not on yet. Okay, looks like it's finally. Let me try to reconnect, and I gotta get out of this menu. Let's turn this on, and we can see now the temperature reading hot, which is exactly what it's supposed to do when when the cluster is not connected to the car. That was so. I'm so happy that I was able to find the issue. Let me get out of here. We need to go back to this one. It looks like it's internet or whatever is now working better. All right, so we double click in here, enter. Yes, it looks like it's updating quicker. Let's go to actuation test, and we're going to start with the temperature gauge for sure. All right, so let's go over to 5% because 0 is too strong. And we can see the needle going down. I like it. All right, let's go over to 50%. I can hear it changing on the scanner, but not here. So let me get the scanner. Yeah, I'm in 25%, and the view in the screen, which system viewer is not updating. Again, spoke too soon about it. All right, so 50% is there. And that needle went to 50%. Let's go over to 75. Perfect. 80%. And it's moving good. Let's start with this one because as soon as you go out, it will go up to full. And I'm going to do this test on every single needle. Like now you understand why I do this test. Not just only for calibration, it's also for make sure that everything is working properly, right? So we're sending this to a customer is going to send this overseas. I don't know if it's in England or in the Caribbean or where is it he's doing it, but we need to make sure that everything is good, right? So fuel gauge is on 0, so let's go over to 5%. And I can see it moving, so let's go over to 20%. Perfect. 50%. Definitely good. 65%. And I go into like 95%. We can see that it's reading perfectly, right? We will go out of here and it's responding as it's supposed to. All right, we're going to go over into the speedometer. We're going to go 10%. It's not 10 miles, it's 10%. Perfect. 20. 30%. 40. 50. I'm going to go over to 75 because we can definitely see that the needle is responding beautiful. 85%. And then out. And we can see nice and smooth coming back. The thermometer, right, is the less. All right, so we're going to go to 12.75%. 25%. 38%. 51%. 63.75. Unbelievable. Those weird numbers. 76.5. 89.25. Wow. Who decided to write that? I don't know. Whatever engineer that designed that, it was with a Hanover was smoking something. All right, guys. I hope that you like the content. Let me just close this in the correct way. I'm gonna take that off. I hope that you guys like the content. Now, this is a lot of fun for me, and also I love to be able to help others. This is an older car that would otherwise that cost most probably go into garbage. There is not many facilities around the world that can honestly give you a correct direction on how is or do a repair. I also want to read an email that I have from Larry. Larry, let me just see. I have it in here. Not even want to say his name because it's a little hard to say. I think it's Larry Sweet. Sweet. It's a little hard for me to say it. Well, no, the only thing is I have his email in here. Maybe if I bring it up, let me see if I can do this right there. Yeah, like that is not showing any of the. Yep, perfect. All right, so I want you to read this because this is the testimonials from customers that makes me feel very happy. So for those that have not seen the video, Larry sent me a 2008. Let me just go over the video 1 second, like that we can see it because I did a video for him. Let me go over to my channel 1 second, guys. I'm taking the time because this is very important so you guys can see it too. See where that is. 2008 Mini Cooper. So I'm going to move you over to the screen just 1 second. All right, so this is the video. As you see in the tab, it says 2008 Mini Cooper R56 N12, no start, no spark, and Valtronic faults. So if I scroll through the video, and it's a very good video, I show a lot of tests and everything. So Larry told me that he has no spark. And I'm like, well, and no spark. I opened the computer because it's kind of weird that you have no spark. He said it wasn't getting power onto the coils. And I, as you see, got the computer open, check everything up. And I said, everything is good. The only thing that I see it was a Valtronic fault. And he told me that he put a Valtronic motor in that car, a servo motor. I'm like, wow. Okay, so that's, so you know what? I ordered my own servo motor and eccentric shaft and created the harness. It took a long time to do it because it's, but if I'm doing this, I cannot do it halfway. I have to do it the correct way so I can give that customer the correct answer of a diagnosis, right? So I can feel confident. And I did. So now what I want to choose is to see is, let me go over to the email. Yes. Says he came in the morning today to pick up the computer. It says, Mike, thank you for your help. I sent him a video because I was like, have you checked the CAS? Make sure that it's not an immobilized problem. Because I said, and I told that in the video, it could be the Valtronic because when the car doesn't know where the Valtronic is, it will shut down injectors and coils to prevent the engine from starting so it doesn't damage the engine. But let's read. It says, and that's the upper part, right? So and what it says, that pink link that he's also showing it there. Mike, thanks for your help. I went back to the Mini forum and found this. I haven't read it, but I pretty much understand what it is because he said in there, sure enough, I turned the Valtronic lead screw all the way clockwise and it started right away. I have a new Valtronic motor in it, so it might have something going on the top side of the intake valve BVT assembly. I'm going to pull the valve cover off and inspect it closely. I didn't appreciate that a sluggish Valtronic will likely current limit out and thus no start. You got me thinking about that gas and DME and all the checks that it does before allowing it to start. And so we got a nice conversation. And Larry is most likely is going to give me a good review, because what I want to show in here, and this is what I wanted you to see, that is my transparency. It's a lot of people are like, are you sure it needs to be repaired? If I am not sure, I'll tell you. I cannot reproduce a concern. I will have to either you take it back and keep going with the testings on the car, or let me refresh with the computer, like in this cluster. In this cluster, without opening, going in deep into a repair, it's pretty hard to tell the customer, yes, it was a problem. But now when I went in there, it was the microprocessor and the flash memory resistors about to fall out. One was actually in the plastic. So I said, yeah. Just he called me like, Mike, so you were telling me you're not sure about the communication. I'm like, no, now I am. I took it apart, and this is completely apart. And now we found another, a stepper motor bed, something else in there, So, but yeah, so what I'm trying to show is, again, you are dealing with a person, myself. I got a very good and a strong background. I'm a modest person coming from a poor family in Costa Rica. I have always steered very strong to work hard, and I will say, successful, because I love what I do and I live good. But my roots have never changed. What my daddy and my mom showed me to make me a good person and believe in God and be honest is the most important thing. Keep your true feelings, your how you said, it's a very hard word for me always to think. I'm trying to say it, but your values. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Keep your values before money, before anything, and then you'll be happy always. Because a lot of people that are stealing, like I have shown in many videos, that's all they do. They just steal the money from people. They're, yes, it's fixed, and send the money back, and the customer, well, is doing the same, and no videos, no truth. I have many customers that have told me, it's like, Mike, they send this to 3 different facilities. They say it's good. I fix it, and I put them in the car, and the car is still not running. I'm tired. I don't know what else to do. Send it over to me. I'm like, yeah, it's 100% bad. I fix it, go back, car starts right away. I wish a lot of my customers that had done that would have given me a review, because then I will have probably, I don't know, 6,000 reviews by now. But sometimes people don't think that how important it's also for a good review. Because when it's a bad review, everybody goes very quick. By good review, people are like, yeah, they're doing good. They don't need it. No, they do. They do. All businesses need a good review. Why? Because if you're a new customer and all you see is 100 good reviews, but then 20 bad reviews, you will be like, wow, I might not want to go there. And you don't know that 10,000 other customers never let the review, because if you would have seen 10,100 good reviews and only 20 bad reviews, you would have like, that's nothing, right? But 120, now you're like, wow, that's a 20%. That is something's going on. And that is why it's so important. All right, guys, thank you so much. See you next time. Bye-bye.